Well, we started writing the day that we finished the last album, X and Y, because we felt immediately like we had something to prove, or we felt hungry again. So after concerts, we would write, or I would write, or Johnny would write through the night, and something about when you come off stage, you have a 4-hour period of adrenaline. So most nights we wrote songs. You know.
We'd play a lot together in sound checks.
Yeah, we did actually, yeah.
We had hundreds of hours of sound check recordings of new things when we finally got to the recording studio to go through.
I don't think we're embarrassed to say that we jammed a bit. We can use that word, we've been around long enough. We had a jam, so what? Sue us.
There was the song Sing was quite inspiring for one song. Well, that was while we were still on tour with X and Y, though.
The song Sing by Blur?
Yeah.
That's right, we listened to it in a room with an ice sculpture, do you remember?
Oh, yeah, I do.
Backstage in somewhere or other.
And we tried to make one of our songs, the song called Lost, sound a bit
like that song. We're one of the world's worst but most enthusiastic plagiarists as a band. We'll try and copy anything, but tends to fail. So we come up with something that sounds like us, only through trying to sound like somebody else. I think what's the key rule for this record was that we couldn't do anything that we felt comfortable with before, like throw out the old tricks, and make sure that each track had its own colour.
The more things you've done, the more things you've recorded, the bigger the danger of plagiarising yourself is, I think. And so we really wanted to avoid doing that.
The key rule was that we could steal from anybody except ourselves.
We've been looking for a long time for somewhere to call like an HQ or something like that, but they're not very easy to find in London. There's quite we always wanted to be somewhere that it was close enough for all of us to kind of get around, get to and from at any time of day or night. And then one afternoon, I think Chris was just walking past this little alleyway and saw some guys there, and there were guys with clipboards and outside the place, and they walked in. And Chris just kind of poked his head round the door and saw, it opened out into this, because it's very, from the road, it's very kind of hidden and you can't really see anything. And then it's quite a big, 3 floors of lovely space. I think at the time it was an art gallery, and these guys were in there just about to sign off on it, saying, yeah, we're gonna buy it. And I think Chris just had a chat to the estate agent and said, we want it, we can sign it, today. They weren't very decisive, the other people, so we just kind of snuck in and went for it, and I think he didn't want to sell it to us, but we just love it. It's the best place. It's like everything we do, our photos, we do meetings, we have everyone who helps us out with, our daily stuff, and we have our studio, and we have an engineer who's here all the time. It just takes the kind of shackles off recording, and you're not in somewhere where you're paying £1,500 a day and there's a pressure to press the button and get the red light on and start recording. So we just come in and write, and we spent the majority of the time we spent on this record was just playing and rehearsing and writing with no kind of pressure to actually record.
It took us about 4 months, I think, to build the bakery and put the studio in and soundproof it and then get everything working. And but I think up until this point now we've had a good year of actual recording in here and being sort of fully operational. Yeah. But as Will says, I think the most important thing about it is it feels like home, and you can come in the middle of the night if you want to, and it's just a great place to meet and discuss everything, other than just music.
On the last record, we didn't really play a lot of the stuff together, and here was so the bakery was totally opposite, because we were there for months and months on end, doing nothing but writing and playing, and occasionally we pressed just like a simple kind of stereo mix to hear back something about something that we'd done, but there was no kind of we've got to get this now and we've got to start editing it and we've got to start producing. It was just let's see what happens, and it gave us so much time it gave the song so much time to breathe.
When you play together, you know, you're always trying to impress each other to a certain extent, and especially when a song's being developed, there's always the need to find some sort of hook or some sort of rhythm or some sort of line which is gonna be the counter melody, or something which is gonna, you know, give the song an edge or something else. So, you know, quite often it's a case of, you know, trying to be the first one to get in there and find that.
We decided to ask Brian Eno who we should get to produce us, and he said,
Me. It's true, we asked him in for a meeting just to give us some advice. We said, Brian, we really want to change things up a bit, and who do you know that's good? He said, well, I could have a go. And then Marcus and Rick, who the other two gentlemen who produced it, who tend to do the sort of nuts
and bolts, the kind of
work,
making the drums sound good and all of that sort of thing.
They just floated from the ether. I don't quite remember how. Oh, Marcus was recommended by the Arcade Fire, and Rick
we've known
for a long
Rick,
time.
Yeah, since we did A Rush of Blood to the Head.
We've known Rick since he was 6, when he engineered Rush of Blood to the Head.
One of the biggest things that I've certainly learned, and I think we would probably all agree with, is it's always the ideas that you're least interested in which become the best things, and ultimately sometimes the ideas which you place your most hopes in, which are sometimes, you know, more disappointing. And I think that's something that Brian Eno really made us see, was that any seed of an idea, no matter how small it is, can turn into something, you know, very impressive.
Brian brought a great enthusiasm for new ways of doing things, for making us play live, for making us play together all the time, getting everybody involved. He's sort of just really enthusiastic about music, and he made us excited about recording again, I think.
He's very good at knowing how to bring in something. It's like every day with Brian is like show and tell, you know that thing? So he'll bring in something for you to hear or see or look at that somehow, or he brought in a hypnotist one day. It's, you know, it is a bit like school with him, because we regarded him as a teacher. So we would all come in and wait to see what he was gonna.
What Sir says.
What Sir says, yeah, exactly. I think the key thing Brian brought as well was he made us feel liberated. We didn't feel like any burden of expectation or any burden of our past or our future even. That was really nice. We didn't feel like Coldplay. And hence that's why it's probably the first Coldplay album it's okay to like, you know? Because we're not under the shackles of being in Coldplay. See what I mean?
You know, so it just makes you unafraid to try something that may at first seem in really bad taste or really stupid.